Another trade in the NHL, ladies and gentlemen, as Jake Walman has been traded from the San Jose Sharks to the Edmonton Oilers. Defenseman Jake Walman of the San Jose Sharks moving tonight in a deal. We don't know the return for it just yet, but the Oilers will be getting some support on defense, a team that has allowed a league-high 4.20 goals against per game since February, over the last four and a half weeks, since February 1st, I believe was the stat. They desperately have been needing some help. Will they make further moves for goaltending? Will they be players tomorrow as the trade deadline continues to approach at 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow? We will find out. Let's start breaking it all down. What we know so far is that Jake Walman has been informed that he's being traded to Edmonton. There might be a small caveat that holds it up, but assuming that it's smoothed out, this should get finalized. So we're just waiting for the details on that trade, what the return might be. Could it be a first-round pick? There we go. It's chatter of a first-round pick on a San Jose. That's exactly what I thought. When you see that defenseman of a bit of a, I don't know, just a slightly lower pedigree going for a second, you would think that Jake Walman would be going for hopefully of the Oilers late first. But they have no first in 2025, which means that they are likely moving a 2026 first round pick. So the Oilers are definitely trying to continue to march their way back to the Stanley Cup final after having lost last year. No first, no second, no fourth, no fifth. They have one pick in the first 5 rounds of 2025. They will likely be moving, I would think, their first round pick in 2026, maybe a condition that it slides or something, but that would leave them with no first in 26 and then still their picks in 27, but no fourths for the next few years. I like to move those fourth, it seems like. Meanwhile, the San Jose Sharks will acquire, they already have 2 in 2025. This would likely be their second 2026 first, thus now giving them, if we count their picks in the first 4 rounds of the next 2 years, that would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 picks in the first 4 rounds. So 12 picks over 8 rounds of the next 2 years in the first, yes, which I think would be something that they'd be very happy with that. Yes. Let's see. So they have 34.6 million cap space right now. This will obviously open up some more cap space for them. They can't retain anybody else, so it doesn't really mean too much, sadly. Jake Walman, though, good for the Oilers. He signed on for 1 more year at 3.4 million. So that's why the price tag on Jake Walman will be a little bit higher. I wanted to just scroll through this quickly. The TSN trade bait board, as you can see at this trade deadline, it's a very unique trade deadline because, yes, there are many players available, but not many expiring contracts. Guy like Scott Laughton, another year after this one. Rickard Rakell, 2 more years after this one. Sorry, 3 more years after this one. Rasmus Ristolainen, 2 more years after this one. Dylan Cousins, 5 more years that he signed on to. Of the top, let's see, top 20 targets on the TSN board, only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 20 of the top 20 are expiring UFAs. There are a lot of players who have been rumored to be moved around here who have term associated to them, which is driving the price up. That's why it is a seller's market right now. So the Edmonton Oilers giving up that pick, 3.4 million. That would leave them with 300K left in cap space unless there's some sort of retention going on, but I doubt it with an extra year on that deal. That would now have him be their 4th highest paid defenseman, but they definitely have to find money in the budget to give Evan Bouchard his contract. John Klingberg will be expiring. Okay. But yeah, it's going to be 3.4 million that I'm not sure the Oilers really have moving into next year. So if you look at the lineup right now, that would allow a top 4 of what? Nurse, when everyone's healthy, would it be Nurse, Bouchard, and what am I trying to say? Walman and Klingberg? Or no, not too offensive. Maybe it would be Walman and Bouchard with Nurse and Klingberg, and then a third pair of Kulak and Emberson or Stetcher. I don't know. But you got to think that the Oilers are still trying to do a little bit more. They have picks available to them. And if there's some cap retention going on, they would have another, they have 300K to play with now. Maybe they could squeeze it to 500K. They get on their depth player. But I don't know, they're probably done now with Trent Frederick, Max Jones, and Jake Walman all coming in. I don't think the trade that you were thinking about of maybe like a John Gibson could happen anymore, because John Gibson making his 6.4 million at 50%, 3.2, that could have happened. But now that Jake Walman's coming in, that pretty much puts an end to any of that, unless there's gonna be money moving out, money moving in, whatever else you want to say. So Jake Walman, this one is moving along the Pride of Armor Heights to Edmonton. Yes, that's all we know so far. Likely a first round pick happening here, being moved. Oilers making a splash, and that could be their last splash, I wonder. So here's some information on Jake Walman. I don't know how to read these cards. I've never looked at these before. I'm a bit more of a J Fresh guy usually, so we'll wait for that card to come out. But yeah, it looks like he's being traded to Well, we know he's being traded to the Oilers, but it looks like the return is a first-round pick. Who is Jake Walman? Well, third-round pick of the Blues back in 2014. He's been moved around a little bit now. Blues, Wings, Sharks, and now Oilers. Traded from St. Louis with Oscar Sundqvist and a second to Detroit for Luke Witkowski. Yeah, that's true. That was an odd trade that the Red Wings had made. It's as if they had to dump Walman. Then he gets traded from the Red Wings with a second for future considerations. Sorry, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, the follow-up trade. So the Red Wings acquired him in like a whatever kind of trade, with Nick Leddy being the main piece of that one. They use him for parts of 3 seasons, and they dump him with a second. So usually you see those kinds of trades giving me with the curling game. Oh, sorry, the curling. I won't look at it. I'll try to stay away from the curling on Twitter. So Jake Walman, who was dumped by Detroit, this is probably the biggest question mark move that Steve Yzerman has ever made, in my opinion. Dumping Jake Walman for free. There has to be something that was going on behind the scenes, I suppose. They ended up moving a second-round pick that the Sharks said thank you very much for. The Sharks take him on and now move him for a first. This is kind of like how the Canadiens got Sean Monahan for nothing and plus a pick, and then flipped him for picks as well. The Sharks get a second for taking him and then get a first for trading him away. Is that not crazy? So good piece of business there by Mike Greer, as he scores 32 points in just 50 games as a Shark. Jake Walman loving life in San Jose, that's for sure. Playing huge minutes. Look at this, 27-38 in an overtime game the other night against the Maple Leafs. He's playing 23-11 on average here in San Jose, while before he was still eating big minutes, but just under 20, now over 23. Now look at this. Doesn't really hit too much at 48 hits in 58 games, but 111 blocked shots in 50 games so far this season. 151 in 63 last year. Great for fantasy hockey. You love to see that. Yeah, Mike Greer, he's cooking, man. You got to give it to Mike Greer. And Oilers fans, you can say, we're happy about Jake Walman, but Sharks fans, you can say, wow, we got a second for taking him on. We had some fun, 32 points in 50 games. And now we're going to get a first for trading him away. So for doing Detroit a favor, you end up getting a first and a second. Ridiculous. Great, tidy piece of business right there, as the Sharks will now have, I don't know what their defense is going to be now. Let's see. So it's going to be Ferraro, who might even be traded as well, with Liljegren, Luke Medulin with Vlasic, and then Thompson with, who's getting called up? Thrun is injured, Ruda's injured. Desharnais just got brought in. Yeah, so Desharnais will slot into the lineup, as they just gave up. I guess that makes sense for why they acquired Vinny Desharnais the other day for that like 5th-round pick in 2028 from the Penguins. With Jake Walman moving out, or Walman and or Ferraro moving out, they knew that they had to have somebody there ready to slot in. Now the question will be, does Mario Ferraro also get moved? As I was just saying previously, 7 of the top 20 on TSN's trade bait board are all players who are signed on next year or further. It's a very unique trade deadline because a lot of the bigger pieces are not expiring UFAs. Yes, Rantanen and Nelson. Honestly, I'd be shocked if Brad Marchand gets traded right now. He's injured as well week to week. I don't know how he's number 3 on the trade bait board. But the big UFAs are Rantanen, Nelson, maybe Besser, and then it drops off dramatically to Brandon Tanev. So I got to say the big players of the 2025 trade deadline are the players who have term. The Ferraros, the Walmans, Lawton, Raquel, all these guys who are signed on beyond this season, which again, as I was saying before, creates a seller's market, especially for expiring UFAs, and also will drive up the price of any player who is acquired, and would be even more so if retention were to be involved. There's a lot going on here at this trade deadline. Yeah, the former defensive defenseman in NHL. Now he's called an. Is he called an? I think he's listed as a 2-way D on in NHL 25. There you go. Okay. So Walman indeed going to Edmonton. The return is not yet confirmed, but chatter of a first-round pick going to San Jose. If I'm the Edmonton Oilers, I'm saying, okay, I have no first in 2025, no first, no second, no fourth, no fifth. I've only a 3rd-round pick in 2025, so we're not even touching those picks. They've already been decimated enough. But now we're starting to dip into 2026 picks. The Oilers, who have to think about their future as well. Okay, Connor McDavid needs a new contract in a couple of years. You're going to have our Evander Kane money freeing up and stuff like that. Adam Henrique money freeing up. Not only freeing up, but these players are getting older too. You know that McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, these guys are signed on for the long haul. But Darnell Nurse, that's a tough contract. Ekholm's going to be expiring. You got to pay big money to Evan Bouchard. Your goaltending situation is a massive question mark. You got to try to go all in ASAP. That's exactly what the Oilers are going to be trying to do right now with the acquisitions of Trent Frederick, Jake Walman, Max Jones. But really their biggest issue, can we say it's the goaltending? They've allowed a league high 4.20 goals against per game since the month of February. We're now into March 6th, and their big problems are still there, in my opinion. Yes, let me ask Jake Walman on defense, but this is an offensive defenseman. Yes, he's going to block a lot of shots, but he does bring... I'd probably say I lean towards his value being the offensive value as opposed to the defensive value of things. Are you going to have a top four of Nurse, Bouchard, Walman, and Klingberg when healthy? I don't know. And when they're not healthy, Nurse, Bouchard, Kulak, Walman, third pair, Emberson, Stetcher, Deneen, two of those three. Yeah, puts up offensive defenseman numbers, but isn't quite an offensive defenseman. That's what I'm trying to say. So the value he brings to the table maybe might lean 55-45 offensive, but it's not just the points here that Jake Walman brings to the table. Yeah, so here, let's check out the card here from Jay Fresh. Jake Walman, acquired by Edmonton, is an offensive defenseman, according to the model. He has a big point shot and loves to use it. Good puck mover with a nice stretch pass. Can be a bit turnover prone, not particularly physical, and has had an impressive season, all things considered, as San Jose's #1. No, don't worry about it, Caleb. I'm on the exact same page as you. So Jake Walman, he had crazy numbers in 22-23 because he was playing all of his minutes, I believe, almost all of his minutes in Detroit with Moritz Seider. They were a great top pair together, if I'm not mistaken. Things fell off into 23-24, and then a huge bounce back in San Jose in 24-25. So both his even strength offense and defense had a big rebound. Not a huge rebound defensively as much as offensively, but his overall value is a nice letter V right there. There you go. Chromium saying, you got to think Edmonton tries to trade for a middle six forward. But the thing is, in Edmonton, if we just look at this quickly, take a pause on the card, Edmonton, with that trade at $3.4 million, now have $300K left in cap space. No picks in 2025 aside from a third. They've already started dipping into 2026 picks. If they were to make another move, which they could, they have to say, okay, we have $300K available. Even if there's 75% retained on somebody, we have to give up some picks to get that done. They'd either have to move somebody out, or they need some sort of 75% retained on a guy who's already making like 1.5 million or less. And it won't be easy. The Oilers need it, but I don't know if they can do it. So back to Jake Walman. Over the last 3 years, according to weighted average data, in that 83rd percentile projected wins above replacement, 84th of even strength offense, 31st of even strength defense, 98th percentile amongst defensemen in goals. That's crazy. 22nd in primary assists. He's playing against very high levels of competition in the 87th percentile, and playing with 83rd percentile teammates because he's playing all the top pair minutes. On the power play in the 97th percentile, penalty kill 37th, and finishing again as a defenseman, this is among defensemen, 92nd percentile. Easier to go up those rankings as opposed to forward rankings, but still, Jake Walman has been an analytical darling, at least according to Jay Fresh's model here. So Walman's microstat card as well for the 24-25 season. You can see even strength offense, wins above replacement. He's in that 88th percentile, 32nd of defense, 95th on the power play, 33rd of penalty kill, 19th for penalties, for drawing penalties, and 39th for finishing. So the finishing has gone down this season, but it's still there. 89th for goals, 78th for chances, 75th for shots, 95th for exit, 96th for defensive zone shot assists. But aside from that, not that everything's horrible, but there is a lot of red in here, you got to say. Entry denial rate, which you want to see higher, 17th percent. Retrieval success, 20th percent. Things like that you want to see a little bit higher. If you tell me 36th for exit success rate, I could say, okay. But we're in a 17th percentile of entry denial rate. That's a bit concerning. These over here are okay. These over here are where I'm having more of a concern on Jake Walman, especially on a team that already has enough trouble defensively. Again, Jake Walman's been put in some bad situations as the top pair of the team at the bottom of the NHL, but it's still not great because the Oilers defense is not going to be able to shelter him or whatever word you might want to use. Jake Walman is going to have still a lot of responsibility for the Oilers, not top pair minutes, but he'll still have a lot of responsibility for them as they have kind of a depleted defensive core. Yes, there's Darnell Nurse, but Klingberg's injured. Bouchard is there, yes. But then who's going to be your next guy up? It now becomes Jake Walman as your number 3 at the moment, and probably in all situations, maybe even your number 2 over Darnell Nurse, honestly. You look at his $9.25 million cap hit, you think he's a big help maybe to the Oilers, but he hasn't always been providing that helpful value for, I don't know, I'm trying to put it delicately. So that's Jake Walman's situation right there. Yeah, Vancouver is listening on Elias Pettersson ahead of the trade deadline. That would be wild. I bet Ruhr would love to hold on to Walman, but turning future considerations into a first and a second is just too tempting. Exactly. That the Red Wings gave a second with Walman to the Sharks just to say, do us a favor. It's just too hard to turn that down. A first and a second for doing the Red Wings a favor. It's just too tempting. It's just too tempting. Let's see. Hobbsy here saying, can you pair Walman and Bouchard, though? That I wouldn't want to do. But the thing is, if Walman's on that left and on the right you have Bouchard and Klingberg, well, then he's got to go with somebody on that right side. So it's going to be, I don't know. Can you go Walman and Bouchard and Nurse and Klingberg? Is that the top four you want to run to a Stanley Cup, Edmonton? I don't know. I'm not trying to be a hater here or anything. I wish the Oilers all the best. I'm just not really sold by that. Again, it seems as though the the goaltending issue won't be answered here, because as much as it's possible the Oilers can try to find some sort of other move that happens at 75% retained or whatever else it might be, it seems as though the goaltending market for the Oilers is now closed, because if you consider a guy like John Gibson at 6.4 million, where was it? 6.4 million. If you had him at half at 3.2, then half of that is what, 1.6, right? Is that what it? So it still wouldn't be able to happen. Am I calculating that right? 6.4 times 25%. Yeah, 1.6. Hey, I was right. Quick math. I'm an Android. So John Gibson, even at 1.6, doesn't fit anymore for the Oilers. So unless somebody's moving, or there's some other goalie that we're not thinking about who's making less, like maybe there's a Peter Marachik, that's a possibility, but is that the answer too for the Oilers? I don't think that's really much an improvement. Maybe a little bit over Calvin Pickard, but not really that much, if at all, over Stuart Skinner. 4.25 at 25%. 1.06 million would be Marachik's cap hit if you get him retained at 75%. Maybe that's a bit more doable, but things just got a lot tighter for the Oilers. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, if you're wanting to make another move, it might not be possible. The fit, yeah, that's it. Just honestly, the fit in Edmonton is a little strange. It's not bad. It's not, what are you doing? It's not, bonehead. That's not the category we're going in here. But I do find the fit to be a little bit strange for the current situation that the Oilers are in and the current players they have in their lineup. Chromium also saying, I know anything can happen in the playoffs, but I don't think Edmonton has the depth to go on a run this year. And I think I'm in that same boat. Again, if the Oilers won the Stanley Cup, I would be nothing but happy for them. I'd love another Stanley Cup for a Canadian team. No problem, no hate, no bias. But when I'm speaking honestly here and looking at the team and seeing the moves that have been made and the current performances of the team at this point of the year in March, I don't think they have the depth, the horses, as we call it, to go on a run. If we go to the standings for a second here, let's see. Oilers in their last 10. What have they been doing in their last 10 here? Oilers are 3-7-0 in their last 10 games. The Kings are 3 points behind them with a game in hand in the Pacific. They won't drop out of the playoffs, but I could see them finishing third in their division, possibly even dropping to a wild card spot. No, because the Avalanche are in the Central. I take that back. So the Oilers will finish second or third. Will it be the fourth consecutive year that the Kings and Oilers face off? Possibly. And if they do, the Kings, who lost in 7 3 years ago, lost in 6 2 years ago, lost in 5 last year, that Kings team, especially if they do what they've been rumored to do and try to make some sort of acquisition at the deadline here, that Kings team, I think, can finally beat the Edmonton Oilers in their fourth consecutive matchup. So the Oilers are not only trying to get to a Stanley Cup final, but they know they have a date with destiny for the Kings, that they're a hungry team and they're a performing team, I guess you could say. The Kings are 12-17-5 on the road, 19-3-4 at home. That's crazy. But as of, let's say, not as of today, but as of this time tomorrow, should the Kings make some moves and the Oilers stay with what they've done now here, Frederic and Walman, I think the Kings win that best of 7 series. Are the Golden Knights done? I wouldn't say necessarily. Here, let me go back. Are we getting a return here? Where am I? Wrong screen. Let's go back to the Twitter world. No. If a third team was involved and retained 50% of Walman's remaining contract, Puckpedia cap relief calculator shows the market cost of that would be a second round. But I doubt that they would have to do that. I mean, like I just said, if the Oilers take on 3.4 million, they have 300K left. If they take on 1.7 million, well, that leaves them with 2 million and they can do a lot more. So maybe the Oilers gave up an additional second or third round pick to make it 50% retained on Walman for both the rest of this season and next season. That'll be very valuable for them if they could find a team to do that. That adds another element to this trade. If the Oilers found that, then that changes everything about this trade and what the Oilers can do tomorrow leading up to the deadline. Oh boy, I wonder. But that would have cost them, it would say a first in 2026, and maybe let's say they did a second in 2027. I don't know. They're starting to dip into those picks, which is okay, but you got to start performing if you're going to be dipping into those picks. Yeah. I'm just reading some of the chat there. Let's go back over here. Yeah. What does this mean? It does feel like it's moving towards a Marchand deal. Marchand trade chatter growing. Report indicates move is likely. No chance. The guy is week to week and the captain of a team that is still very useful into next season. The Bruins are not selling their future. They're selling their expiring contracts. Give them back McAvoy and Lindholm and Marchand and Pasternak, and give them a full healthy team, and the Bruins can still be a team that's in contention. I would be shocked. I would be floored. I would be floored if the Bruins trade Brad Marchand. Not that it's a bonehead move, but just, well, that's not what I'm trying to say. Not that they couldn't get value for him, and not that that's not the direction that the Bruins should go in, but I'm saying they don't have to go in that direction. And for them to do that, I would be really, really surprised. And there you go. That's why I don't mean to always be like a Jay Fresh merchant, wherever the kids are calling it these days. But I really do think, from all the insiders that I follow, I do appreciate his insight the most. Maybe it's because you follow the people who say the things that are most like you, but I find like my thinking is a lot like his thinking. So I appreciate his insight into things. Yeah, I wonder what kind of deals we're going to see tomorrow. And what's very interesting about tomorrow's deals is that the top players available, when you look at, let's say, the top 20 who are available for TSN's trade bait board, only 7 of them are expiring UFAs. A lot of these players who will be available today and tomorrow, these are players who have term on their contracts, which makes it a seller's market and also makes it, also drives up the prices. Coach got to read the riot act, and Evan, the same will make everyone tougher. There you go. Sounds good to me. Chromium says, I think Marchand gets traded if and only if they think they can bring him back in the offseason. Good point there, too. Yeah, that's also a consideration. I look forward to being live tomorrow, everybody. I look forward to being live tomorrow. We'll be live. I don't know if it'll be noon Eastern, noon or 12:30 p.m. Eastern, depending on if there's trades in the morning. If there's a lot of trades in the morning, we'll be live at noon Eastern. If there's nothing yet, probably 12:30 p.m. Eastern, and then we'll be live until probably about 3:30, 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll have some guests who join us on the stream. We'll be looking at all the cards, all the breakdowns, all the winners and losers of the day, the standings, the trade bait boards, all that kind of stuff. That'll be fun. So join us tomorrow. Subscribe, hit that bell not to miss it. Let's see. That's for what happened like once I can remember. With Plekanec? No, I don't. Did that happen? When I think of that, I think the last time that I remember that happening was like Mark Recchi, when he got traded, won a cup, then came back. Let me see. Let me pull it up for you. Recchi, Mark. I don't know. I'm sure there's other instances of it. Mark Recchi, let's see. On the Penguins, wins a cup with the Hurricanes, then comes back to the Penguins for another year and a half. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking there. Yeah, Carson Soucy, the Rangers. We saw that earlier on as well. Yep. Justin Braun went back to the Flyers. It's rare, but it does happen. How often does it happen they go to a team that they win? Did Braun win a cup, though, that year? I don't think so. How often do they go to a team, win a cup, and then go back to that team that they were originally on? Plekanec, did he go back right away? Yeah, then it was just for 3 games. Then he proceeded to play 5 more years in the Czech League. Yeah. So there's the card on Jake Walman at the moment. We can also take a little peek at, while we're waiting on the return of of Jake Walman. I just want to take a little peek at the Carson Soucy trade. Carson Soucy, acquired by the Rangers, is a stay-at-home defenseman. Big, battles for pucks, solid defensive stick, not a fast skater, and very limited with the puck. Was very effective as a shutdown guy last season. This year, not so much. Just look at that fall off. Oh boy. Yeah, so the Rangers, I don't know what they're trying to do exactly. But again, a guy with term. They might not be doing anything this season, but they'll have Soucy for next season. That's a lot of the trades that are being made today and tomorrow and this trade deadline season. It'll be very tempting for the Rangers to put Soucy with Adam Fox. Maybe it will work out. I wonder. The Flames signed another goalie to a two-way deal today, so I wonder if Vladar gets dealt tomorrow. Interesting. I hadn't noticed that. I wonder. Let's look at Puckpedia transactions. Signings. Recently signed. No. Am I looking in the right place? Hold on a second. Who did this Flame sign? NHL transactions. Let's get the list of those. There it is. There we go. Murphy. Murphy signs a one-year, two-way contract with the Flames. Oh, sorry, no. Wait, is he the goalie? Connor Murphy? Yes. Okay, sorry. Mixed that up. So Connor Murphy, 26-year-old, number 31. 26-year-old goalie. I don't honestly know him. He signs a one-year deal for the rest of the year in Calgary. Interesting. Okay. Keep that in mind. So yeah, what does that mean for the Rangers? If we look at them fast. The Rangers still have $14 million in cap space. That's fine. They gave up a draft pick to get that done. The Canucks, I'm sure, don't mind. Marchand to Vegas. I don't know. But again, how long is he injured for? He's still week to week. There you go for Carson Soucy coming in. Meanwhile, the Vancouver Canucks, they still have now $13.3 million in cap space. And that was for what? Was it for this before? No. I'm not sure what pick it was for. Was it for a third? Not sure. Would it show me in the transactions actually if I actually go to, hold on, Puckpedia trades 2025 third. Okay, there we go. That's what I wanted to see. 2025 third. Okay, I'm not sure what the holdup here is on the Walman return, but I'll keep waiting for it as I'll go back to Walman's numbers. Let's look at this again here. Not seeing anything yet. No. Okay, back over here, and I'll read your comments. Vancouver trying to free up money to sign some of their soon-to-be free agents. Yeah, I could see that. So moving Carson Soucy, freeing up like $3+ million for more room for Brock Besser. That's fine by me if I'm Vancouver. Could just be depth for Cooley in the AHL, though that too, because he hasn't been great. Yes. I wonder if the Canucks will make a big move tomorrow as well. Well, it has been said in the media that Elias Pettersson is, I don't know if it's available for trade or if they've been gauging the interest for Elias Pettersson, but you would think that Elias Pettersson is at least, the Canucks are at least open to considering an Elias Pettersson trade at this moment in time. So yeah, we know the return is going to involve a first most likely. But for some reason, the universe does not want to tell us. NHL trade deadline, what's trending over here? Good old trade deadline. Of Amelka signing too. Yeah, that's great for Utah. Utah made a lot of signings. If we just quickly look at Utah, we'll end the stream as soon as we get the details on Walman. But just looking at Utah, they made a lot of signings here. They gave Kerfoot 1 year, $3 million. They gave Vamelka 5 years at 4.75. They give Hebig 1 year at 7.75. Ian Cole, they gave also 1 year at 2.8. So yeah, they're getting ready for 25, 26 and beyond. What do they have left to do? Not much. And they still have 27.8 million in cap space. Oh my goodness. Nick Bjugstad's going to be a question mark. Jack McBain, okay. Michael Carcone, okay. Everyone else is signed on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's your defensive core. Good to hey, Shea Weber. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with Kesserling being the 6th, not Shea Weber being involved. So you have your 6 ready to go. You have a couple of depth guys expiring. You have both your goalies ready to go. A ton of cap space still left. Yeah, Utah's ready to go. They pretty much took care of their offseason moves now. They're ready to go. I like it for Utah as well. Vejmelka's been solid. He'll continue to share the crease with Connor Ingram. I wonder what kind of payday Ingram will be looking for come the end of 2026. Now that Vejmelka got the increase from 2.725 to 4.75. I wonder. Back to, sorry, not the Sharks, the Oilers. There we go. Still don't know the return. I'm not going to turn this into a 5-hour stream where we don't know the return. It seems as though the return will be a first, like we said, so we don't need to wait too long on it. But what I really want to wait for is to see, will there be retention involved? That's what I'm waiting to hear. So that's where we turn to you now in the comments. Let's see, what do you want to say about any trade, any transaction that's been going on here? Utah may sign some free agents in the offseason too. That's it. They'll have the money to do so. And they don't need to keep saying, okay, we weaponize our cap space, we take bad contracts. No, they can actually go out and overpay a big free agent. Like it cost a big overpayment to get Jason Zucker, and like it cost a big overpayment to keep Jordan Greenway in Buffalo. You can afford to use that money to overpay your players for the time being, because the money that you'll need is still a bit of a ways away. Yeah, that's good news for Utah. Just scrolling through the Discord server at the same time. Jiggle's saying that our resident Sharks fan, that they really like Jake Walman in San Jose. I mean, maybe we can get Jiggles on as a little guest star here. I'll throw it out to Jiggles if he's interested. We'll see if we can get a Sharks fan in here, in telling Oilers fans who they just acquired. Any shock trades tomorrow, like someone who hasn't been mentioned at all? There always is. There always is. If you go back and scroll through the years, there's always got to be one. So any name that I throw out would be total just random speculation, so I'll refrain from doing so. But there will most certainly be some shock trades, especially that the market seems to be gearing towards players, the teams going after players who have term on their contracts. Usually everyone looks at those UFAs and say, oh, you're on the trade bait board because you're a UFA on a team that's out of the playoff picture. It's not just going to be that. It's going to be players with multiple years of term left on their contracts that teams will pay a premium for. Everyone thinks it's a weak draft. And sure, it is a weaker draft, but that's going to facilitate moving out picks, and saying, we want to give our team the best chance possible, both this postseason run and next year's postseason run, and perhaps even beyond that. But there will always be some shocks out there. And let me go back to the Twitter world. Dylan Larkin, nice goal. Don't want to get any copyright going on. Yeah, Brad Marchand, although he's an expiring UFA, that would go in the category of a shock trade for me. Because Brad Marchand is not done yet. He's not like he's about to retire here. Brad Marchand, if you go look at the Boston Bruins here, Brad Marchand, he's 36 as an expiring UFA. He still has a couple good years left in him, I think. He's one of those guys. He's not your typical 36-year-old. I think he could still perform at the same level he's been performing at. Not the level he was performing at 28, but the level he's been performing at 34, 35, 36. I think he can maintain that into 37, 38. I think so. So it's kind of like a Patty Kane type deal where, like, okay, at the deadline, he got traded to the Rangers. But then now he's re-signed longer term in Detroit, and he's going to stay in Detroit for a few more years after that. That's kind of what we're talking about here in Brad Marchand. Is he ready to leave the Bruins, go to a team, play a handful of games there, then go to market, then sign in with another team for another 2-3+ years left that he has left in the tank? Or could he even return to Boston and there's some sort of handshake agreement made there? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. Perhaps the delay has to do with a third team being involved, because if it was as straightforward as Walman for a first, we would not still be waiting this long. So Jake Walman, if the Oilers could get retention through a third-party team, that would allow them to do a lot more tomorrow. They would go from having $300K left in cap space to about $2 million left in cap space, which would allow them to get, let's say, a John Gibson at 75% retained, or some other goaltender who's not or well, not necessarily a goaltender, but just another player who's not already making like $1 million or less. They could get someone at 50 or 75% retained who's making more than that now. Joe says, I'm a Flyers fan and they are my home team, but I love hockey. I can watch any two teams in the league play. Also love when teams change colors, logos, even the name. I can't wait to hear the name Utah picks. Yes, that would be exciting as well. I thought for sure it would be the Utah Yeti, but it seems like though that won't be happening anymore. Yeah, any return would be great for the Wings as they got him for free and were paid a second to take him on. Yes. And that's exactly it. I could see, says Chromium, Brad Marchand becoming a Corey Perry type player as he gets older. He's not just going to retire at 37 and say, whatever, I can't play at a first line level anymore. I think he could still be a longer term bottom six guy for years to come with that leadership, with that, especially his two-way play, his knack to score shorthanded goals. Welcome aboard, Gavin. Happy trade deadline season. I'm hoping this is my last live stream before going live tomorrow. I'm hoping. I don't know. If there's a lot of trades in the morning, I'll go live at noon Eastern. But hopefully after I'm done the Walman stream here, the next time you hear my voice will be for the 3.5 hours of coverage tomorrow afternoon. I'm hoping. Let's see here. Okay, so Frank Starvalley says, sounds like the Oilers have some roster constraint issues. Tonight's lineup was an adventure, and rosters expand after midnight tonight. So Edmonton is on their way to completing a deal to acquiring Walman, but maybe sometime before they can complete/announce it. All right, so that pretty much does it for me. That tells me I'm closing this stream off like now. So we'll wait to hear a return on Jake Walman. We'll discuss it more tomorrow. But that's about it. And I've said both things. Either Jake Walman is not. Hold on, wait. Let me get this out for copyright. Either Jake Walman is going straight up to the Oilers at $3.4 million for a first round pick, and now the Oilers are very tight at $300K left in their cap, and they have to do some more gymnastics. Or there's a third team involved. They're gonna have to give a second round pick for $1.7 million of retention to that team for the next 2 years, and they get Walman at 1.7, and we'll have $2 million of cap space now moving into tomorrow's deadline. So either they have $300K or they have $2 million. But either way, Jake Walman is going to Edmonton for a first round pick. Yeah, since Frank said it, expect the whole deal to be announced in 2 minutes. That's exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to click end stream, and then all the details will come pouring out. But I'm going to, I've said what I need to say. I think we're going to call it there. Ladies and gentlemen, leave me your thoughts down here in the YouTube comments for what you think about the Jake Walman deal. Especially Oilers fans, what do you think about this one? And we'll be hopefully talking. The next time we talk will be tomorrow afternoon. So subscribe and hit that bell to be notified when we go live here on the channel. We'll be having trade deadline coverage for about 3.5, 4 hours tomorrow. I hope to be your soundtrack, whether you're working, driving, whatever else it might be. Join, listen in, and I'll be breaking the trades and also breaking down the trades as they all happen tomorrow. So thanks for joining, everybody. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Hit that bell, subscribe, and join us in the Discord server. That's where news breaks first. And even if you want to be a guest on tomorrow's live stream, join the Discord server. I can get that link to you. We'll have some guests come on and say a few words. We'll have a fun time with it. So looking forward to the, I think, third annual trade deadline stream tomorrow. Jake Walman to the Oilers. Is that all the Oilers need? We'll find out soon. Thanks for joining me, everybody. And we will talk, hopefully not until tomorrow.